There would be no election if at all IEBC will not agree to the manual register. Dear ladies and gentlemen, those are not my words, but the words of Azimio presidential candidate Raila Amolo Odinga.
Manual register is a must at each and every polling station. This is not negotiable. You're telling the IEBC they must have a manual register along with biometric identification of the voters on that polling day. Kabla hivyo hakuna uchaguzi. Ati wamechagua polling stations kama 10,000. Pale ambapo wataweza kuingiza hizo kura 200 ili ingie pale ndio wapate kura 2,000,000 ya ili ya ziada ya uongo.
He made those remarks when he was actually touring the central Kenya counties on a series of rallies. Remember, initially Raila Amolo Odinga wrote to IEBC demanding that the IEBC come out clear on this manual voter register issue. But IEBC has been silent on that matter. But then recently, IEBC, through a press conference, said that the only register that will be given priority is actually the electronic voter register or the biometric voter register. Now, dear ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the details of that press conference, please do take a moment and subscribe if you're a first-time viewer. If you're a regular subscriber, we always appreciate you so much because you've been supporting us, and may God bless you. Now, you can actually give us a thumbs up because that's the only way YouTube gets to increase our experience on the YouTube platform. Now, back to IEBC's press conference. But before we continue, let us watch this video about the press conference from IEBC Commission.
And the judgment held that the primary data of the register of voters is the biometric. So it is the primary register to be used. The same judgment says there will be a complementary system in the event that a voter will not be able to be identified. In other words, all processes and efforts that has been made for biometric identification fails. And here there are several stages. Once you turn up, you give out your ID or your passport, whichever you used for registration as a voter. And if you are identified positively, then you will be asked to touch the fingerprints, the KIMS kit. And by the way, the biometric register and the physical register or the paper register, they are one and the same. You use the biometric register to print the paper register. So this notion being carried around that biometric register and paper register are different is actually misleading Kenyans.
Now from the video, you hear that they will give priority to the biometric register. In 2017, when Raila contested the elections and that he had successfully won on the court, he won the case against the IEBC, which led to nullification of the results. The court said in their series of submissions that IEBC should give priority to the electronic voter register. However, there are instances when these kits fail, in polling stations. We have cases like, places like Mandera where we noticed that there was some network hitch back then. In those kind of places, unless 4G network is actually well installed in those areas, I think there will still be some network hitches which will lead to these kits not functioning. I get to understand Raila's point now, because Raila is looking at the scenario where now the kits could be functioning well, but the network reach could be a challenge. So IEBC has defended itself by saying that they will deploy 6 kits in each and every polling station. It is okay that they're supposed to use 3 kits. 3 kits are for backup, and that they have escalated their idea by even introducing an SD card that will actually contain this register. So in the event that one kit fails, IEBC will use that SD card on another kit and still use the electronic voter register. It is okay, that can still work. But I think Raila's bone of contention is now the network reach. We remember in 2017, 2013, IEBC complained about 4G networks in some areas not being able to, the accessibility of a 4G network. That led to some regions, some polling stations facing delay in actually starting of the voter process, delay in actually relaying of these results. So I think this war, or rather this kind of verbal war between the looming verbal war between Azimio One Kenya Presidential Alliance and the IEBC is likely to escalate, because Raila said the no voter, no manual register, no election. So that means IEBC, if IEBC continues to stick to its guns as it's doing at the moment, and Raila Amolo Odinga still continues to stick to his guns, also saying that no manual register, no election, then I think we'll likely to see an escalation of this beef between One Kenya Alliance and Azimio One Kenya Alliance and the IEBC. So we know Raila Amolo Odinga has always had a history of sticking to his guns and maintaining his point and not backing off. Like in the rerun to the 2017 rerun, he said there'll be no election. He did not participate, and that was it. He never participated in that election. If he says that there will be no election if IEBC will not agree to a manual register, then I think they will likely to foresee a problem now with this electioneering period. Because I think Raila made his point known that these kits are man-made, and by virtue of the fact that they are man-made, they can fail. IEBC has gone further and said that if they can fail, then we've ensured that there are sufficient backups. But then Raila comes on board and says that can you be assured about a 4G network reaching in particular? You remember when IEBC was doing a demo around 2 weeks back, the transmission already failed. So I think that gave Raila Amolo Odinga more strength to actually defend his point. Well, in the press conference released, you had the commissioners say that the backup register will not be, they will not do away with it completely, but it will be there as a final resort. I think now Raila Amolo Odinga and IEBC will be on the same page if that is the narrative that actually be brought on board, because it is a last resort. Why? In the event that as a Mukuli, because it's saying that there are people, the Mkulima kind of people, they use a lot of time, most of the time they are on jembes. It can reach a time where by now their fingerprints cannot work. Now the identification might fail, but these people will have maybe like IDs. So IEBC goes further and says that we've escalated our search criteria in such a way that now you can even use your ID to locate you. So your details will pop up. Fine, those two scenarios actually protects the register crisis. But what about the network reach? Because we know that there are polling stations which are as remote as you can imagine, and this kind of places cannot access network. So maybe some of them are 2G enabled, but 4G not yet, and maybe the kits only require 4G reach. Now this kind of areas will pose a challenge to the electioneering process. So I think that's why Raila is trying to defend his point by saying that you must introduce a manual register. But again, IEBC is saying that we will introduce a manual register as a last resort. But this will be subject to, there'll be a series of processes before they actually use, because I understand there'll be some, you have to request from the PO, and the PO has to approve, and so that kind of bureaucracy, or rather the procedures involved before using the manual register, will again pose another challenge that will bring about delays in the voting process. So I think IEBC should just agree to the demands and say, we will keep manual register standby. In the event that the kits fail because of network reach, we will revert to it instantly. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, are we likely to foresee a scenario by now there will be the escalation of this verbal, war of words between the IEBC and the Azimio and Kenya Lands? Because we understand that Kenya Kwanza are in support of the digital voter register. Kenya Kwanza are supporting that idea, but they're not looking at that network aspect. Network aspect, I mean. Because if the network fails, definitely no voting will be done, because there will be it's not possible to actually access the server. So that's why we are saying that IEBC going forward should look into this matter wisely and not politicize the matter, and it should not be supremacy kind of war between the coalition and the IEBC body in a bid to trying to show who is mightier than the other. But IEBC should look at the common mwananchi, so that they should know that we will also be having our other works. It will not be just for voting. Some people will come to vote and exercise their own democratic right by voting and go to their place of work. And the event that there will be some delay, then this will be a major challenge. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the closure of our analysis, please, I also like to remind the first-time viewers to subscribe, and the regular subscribers, we always like to thank you so much for always supporting our channel. And once again, I'd like to say thank you so much and be blessed.